All right, David, Recovering Overthinker. Thank you so much for being here. It's my first podcast, so I'm really, really honored to have you here. Yeah, I'm not going to do the whole typical podcast introduction here. I'm just going to let you introduce yourself, who you are, who is Recovering Overthinker. And yeah, man, please.
Ali, brother, thank you for the invite. You say it's a pleasure. It's my pleasure and honor to be here. It's mutual feeling, to say the least. When it comes to me introducing myself, I'm also not the best at doing so. I can say I'm also not used to doing so, but without being too vague and too detailed, I would like to say that I am a guy who is concerned with questions of human life and human existence that most people are concerned with. It's just that through a set of circumstances, I found the time and the energy to start writing about those things and to keep writing about them for, at this point, over 5 years, which connected me to individuals like you, which allowed me to build an online audience by the pen name Recovering Overthinker. And yeah, I mean, the name, explains itself, sort of. I wanted to, and I should point out why I used a pen name rather than my own name out of insecurity. So maybe that's a fair point to bring up early in the conversation, out of insecurity of what people would say that this guy from Montenegro, small country in Southeast Europe, what people would say in a society where no one cares about talking about philosophy or meaning of life, trying to avoid judgment. Excuse me, trying to avoid judgment. I use the pen name that I thought hopefully people around the world that share similar sensibility uh, would recognize and relate to. So I said, okay, let's say I'm recovering overthinker. That's one of the characteristics of who I am as a person. And yeah, since then, as I said, writing over 5 years on the topics that hopefully we will touch on, a few of them or most of them. And other than that, I would say just a normal human being like most people. The only difference is that I've been fortunate enough to be in this position where I can I can I can be regarded as someone who has something interesting or valuable to say by people like you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Recovering Overthinker is actually the name that caught my attention. Maybe because a part of me, identifies being an overthinker. I think a lot, I analyze a lot. So that's what caught my attention. And so out of your insecurity, you actually came up with a pretty great name. What is your motivation to come up with the name? And not necessarily the name, but how did you find the motivation and the inspiration, especially to express the thoughts that you have, the ideas that might go through your head? How did it all come together?
I have a concrete answer. Uh, like yourself and like a lot of people who read my writing and people out there in the world who don't read my writing, but I think there's a lot of people in the world who share this. As again, I'm used to calling it a sensibility, a particular sensibility towards life where we are more prone to going down the rabbit hole of our own minds, as you say, analyzing, and whether it's analyzing a particular interaction we had with someone, or analyzing a social event that's happening or that has happened, or analyzing something that we had read. But we have this tendency to sometimes, in a beautiful way, overanalyze things, or then maybe we should not call it overanalyzing, just in a beautiful way, dive deep into things. But we also have the tendency to go so deep that we start calling it overthinking, overanalyzation, where we are burdened by how deep our thoughts tend to go. And I always knew I'm not the only person with this particular sensibility, but I also knew that it's not as if I can. eh, Again, the point of society. Maybe someone here has a fortune of living in different surroundings, but in my society, it wasn't really like the most natural thing to go out and seek, constantly seek those kinds of conversations. I was fortunate to have a couple of friends who share this sensibility of having, let's say, meaningful conversations about life, the meaning of life, love, death, authenticity, creativity, all of those things. But adult life is such that everyone goes their own way. Even if you catch up with people regularly, still, it's not as if you can have meaningful conversations every single day. So I realized that okay, this thing is as beautiful as it can be. This tendency towards thinking deeply, it can also be a burden, and it's a burden that is slowly starting to weigh down on me in terms of carrying those thoughts with myself and not expressing them in any way. And I've been toying with the idea of writing online. I've been writing already in my journal for a while, which turned from journal as in documenting my experience and my dreams, turned towards journal as in trying to articulate some semi philosophical ideas to call them that way. And I will try to get to the point. Let's say the turning point is I can remember vividly reading Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. I would say a book that's kind of one of the stepping stones on everyone's personal growth journey. And there is this aphorism where he says, if a god, or if God or some higher entity approached you and said that you have another day to live or another 10 years to live, now I'm kind of paraphrasing, but that's the point. It should make no difference to you whether you have another day to live or another 10 days. And I started thinking, like, this makes no sense. Like, of course, I would prefer to have 10 more years to live, not. Yeah, that was, I don't know if I paraphrased it correctly, but it shouldn't matter if it's 1 day or 10 years. So not 10 days, one day or 10 years. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Of course, I would prefer to have 10 more years to live than 1 day. But then I started thinking, okay, what I think he's getting at is the fact that if you live true to yourself, if you are honoring what is something inside of you, or as Stoics like to say, if you're living according to nature, then your life is fulfilled. So you are at peace with it ending whenever your time has come. But it took me a while to arrive at this conclusion, at this interpretation, which still, I'm not claiming that I have the right interpretation, but that's how I took it. But actually, in reality, it's not as if I read it and arrived at this interpretation. In reality, I read it, and then the next week, I went to work and work out and socializing events, and I kept thinking about, okay, what did he mean? And then I realized, okay, I shouldn't be spending all of this time if I'm so deeply interested in certain ideas about life and how to live life. The time has come to start sharing with others. This is not going to this is not going to be healthy if I go through life holding all of those ideas and uh, having those conversations with myself. I will end with this. Uh, so for anyone listening to this right away, if I can send one message, it's not about how many people are going to read what you're going to say. That's a beautiful bonus that you receive. It's about you letting those ideas out, verbalizing them so that they are more clear to you, and hopefully connecting with one person, not reaching hundreds of thousands and millions of followers, what people aim nowadays. If you have the propensity to think deeply about things, I think you owe it to yourself to start expressing it.
Absolutely. And I think that is one of the reasons why you also came to the point where you have, I think, over 200,000 followers on Instagram, I believe. I'm not quite sure.
Close to
Yeah,
over
close to.
platforms now. We are over, yeah,
Exactly.
combined with Substack, yeah.
So, did you think you will get here when you started your journey of writing and expressing your thoughts? Was this actually a goal? I want to hit 100,000, I want to hit 200,000, or was it just like, I just want to express my thoughts?
Great question. Initially, there was no goal in terms of metrics. I can say that honestly. I can say that honestly because I have experienced previously in life how getting obsessed over numbers can hurt you psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. So I can honestly say there was no end goal or any kind of goal in terms of those metrics. I will say this: there was a deal, a contract that I've made with myself saying for 1 year, let's post every single day with zero expectation of any feedback, let alone certain number of followers. So first year, let's just post with zero expectation, and I honored that contract. But you know, was the thing already maybe a couple of months in, I realized I'm going to keep doing this. It's not just 1 year, and then after 1 year, I will tell you now, even though I'm saying I don't care about numbers, I do remember that after 1 year of consistent posting, I had like 3,000 people following me, which by today's standards isn't a lot because nowadays you see with Reels and how the algorithm works on a lot of platforms, people can go viral with a couple of posts. That wasn't the case for me. After 1 year of consistent posting, I had around 3,000 followers. And I remember thinking, I enjoy this so much that I can at the same time realize that in terms of metrics, I'm not performing, you know, impressively well, but I can at the same time see myself enjoying this. So let's keep going. That's one part of it, and asking, what did I expect, or besides the goal, did I see myself achieving this audience size? I did hope. I would be lying if I said I didn't hope for some sort of recognition, but I can tell you what I never expected. I was and still am overall in life an introvert, and I was a massive introvert back then, and I never anticipated interacting directly with people. So if back then you said to me that I would be having this conversation with you, I would be, paralyzed by fear. That is something. My introvert fantasy was hopefully people start recognizing my writing, but I will forever hide. I will hide behind a pen name and I will hide behind my writing, but I will never interact with people directly. So that I'm glad that didn't come to fruition. I'm glad that now I can say the best part is getting to know people.
Well, you know what they say, introverts are introverts with people they don't resonate with necessarily,
Mm,
they don't connect with. But if you have a certain topic that is actually intrinsically interesting to you, that you bring out to the world and you attract followers and people that resonate with your message, I believe that is a great conversation that an, I guess, ex-introvert can have or still introvert can have.
mm,
And that opens up a pathway. So that's great to hear. You mentioned you've had experiences in the past where focusing on metrics, focusing on numbers hurt you in different aspects of your life,
mm,
psychologically, spiritually, so on and so forth. Does this have to do with your upbringing in Montenegro, your first
mm.
maybe profession, career? Maybe you can tell the listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah, another great question. If I can just one small thing before I answer that, because you mentioned now introverts, how different one's behavior is when they resonate with people. I have to say something. Sorry for going on a side tangent, but this is this is the fact why in my introduction I said I am just another person like those who read. Because you and I can say here, you and I had a previous interaction where you saw how impressed I was, and you saw my attitude that I have I have so many things to learn from you. I'm impressed by you. So that's why these metrics are also so deceiving because I'm one of the people who share similar, not necessarily even views on life, but questions about life and some views on life. So one of people who share many similarities that through a set of circumstances has built this platform. So I'm not above anyone in the sense of when these conversations are being had that I'm, like I like to say, I'm like this Wizard of Oz, the talking head, and people are there to listen to what I have to say. So I had to say that when it comes to the whole introvert dynamic, it's because of the people that it's because the fact that people that read what I write, they have as much value to give to me. It's just that I don't always get to have interactions with them like I have the pleasure to have with you and have had, and probably hopefully will have in the future. But yeah, I kind of side tangent just to say because I have to
Absolutely.
say it, have to.
I also want to add something to that, because, a lot of, I think most people that start with social media, I mean, I don't know if it's on purpose or if it just happens. Once you start posting, you automatically start seeing yourself as some sort of maybe expert of the topic that you speak about, You start because people follow you literally, they like your stuff literally, they comment on your stuff, they support you. So maybe somehow people tend more, to gain this position of a guru, which something I really appreciate about you. You always mention, look, I'm the same as most people. I'm just trying to, speak about things that I'm learning through life. Because let's be fair, who is the real guru in this life? Like everyone's going
Yeah.
through the same experience. We all were babies at one point. We go through certain career paths, relationships, social life. We gain experience. And some people have more experience in certain fields than others. And that's that. Like, so I really appreciated that authentic, real point to explicitly mention, look, I'm not a guru. I'm going through things that I learn a lot from, and I just want to express and not teach, maybe, yeah, sure, teach others about, right? Just like speak, document. So really appreciated that about you. But yeah, I also went on a side tangent now. And I think more people should maybe mention this in their social media presence. I don't know what you think about this.
I also think they should, and thank you for adding on this beautifully put. I also think more people should mention it, and it will help them long term. Although, as humans, as you say, we are tempted to adopt the role of authority, or nowadays guru. We are tempted. It is a ever-present temptation for people who have any kind of exposure and reach. But I think long term it will help them because it makes you more authentic and not just more authentic. So, okay, authenticity is going to pay off. Let's not always look at the payoff. It's going to make you more authentic, and you're going to feel lighter
Mhm.
because when you're showing up to speak, you know that you're showing up as another human. So I think it's underrated. Yeah, just appearing as human uh,
Absolutely.
is underrated. Yeah.
And maybe going back to the question, numbers hurting you or
Mhm.
the focus on too much
Yeah.
numbers, right? I think numbers are important. Um, and also connecting this topic that we just spoke about, I hear this a lot. Some people say authenticity doesn't exist. We all play a role in life. And
Mhm.
even this authentic face you put on is still a face, is still a mask, right?
Mhm.
And they use this obviously as an argument to, I think, make it easier to play the role of an expert in order for them to
Mhm.
sell a digital product or something online. I don't know what your take is on this. I think it goes hand in hand with, the too much focus on the outcome and the metrics and the numbers.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I guess the question is a little bit complicated now. The first question was a little bit more simpler. You know, what did you
No,
really
no,
mean
it's
about, the numbers hurting or the focus on that?
yeah. Man, it's unbelievable how you connected the two because it makes all the sense, at least for my situation that I can now share. So thank you for this. It makes all the sense. And once again, thank you for connecting them. Mm, Okay, to provide the background, uh, I'm from Montenegro, small country, Southeast Europe. And after high school, I enrolled in aviation academy to become an air traffic controller. For those who don't know air traffic controller, I mean the best thing is to Google it, but it's a pretty challenging job, constantly rated as one of the most stressful jobs, extremely dynamic. So it's basically like you're playing a video game on high level of difficulty, but it's not a game. It's real airplanes with real people inside. Uh, to kind of try to explain it in one sentence or two sentences, the pilots are flying the plane. They're controlling the machine that is the airplane, but the air traffic controller is in contact with every single pilot in his designated airspace and is providing him with instructions. This is not to undermine what pilots are doing, but at the end of the day, air traffic controller is the one making decisions where the pilot is going and what he's doing, descending, ascending, turning left or right. So extremely dynamic job. Uh, it it is the reason why I'm here, because in a country that is struggling economically and where most people don't achieve any kind of financial stability or independence from their family until they're 30 years old, I gained my financial stability and independence at 21, I believe, which again in Montenegro is basically impossible, other than being an air traffic controller or being a criminal or footballer. So that's, those are the three, and most people don't even know about air traffic control. So I was extremely privileged and lucky in the sense that I got into that education, but also, let's say, justify that privilege by passing all of the tests to even enroll in the academy. To get to the point of becoming obsessed with numbers, right away I realized that this job, as impressive as it was, and to this day I have immense respect for people who are doing it, my ex-colleagues and everyone around the world, and the stress that they are dealing with on a daily basis. I knew that this is something that not only will not fulfill me, but quite possibly would suffocate my soul long term. Even just expressions suffocate my soul. I know it can sound dramatic, but that's how I felt. And maybe, me even expressing myself in a poetic manner immediately disqualifies me from being in air traffic control long term, because those are analytical people who don't really care too much about creative projects. It's all about decision in this second and then forgetting about it. So sort of opposite of engaging in long-term creative projects. So having, again, enough financial stability besides my regular job, which was air traffic control, I engaged in my first side project, which, not to go too much into detail, but it was creative. It consisted of both writing and designing t-shirts with a message that certain messages that I believe were necessary for the world to hear. And the idea was for a decent portion of the profits to go to charity. That was my first independent project, which failed. I can proudly say that it failed. And now, why your question is brilliant, because I obsess too much about numbers, and a project that started as something that I really wanted led eventually being extremely inauthentic. So your question really, really ended up being perfect, because, okay, I created a blog and social media for this project that I was working on, and all I cared about was to be in front of as many people as possible, rather than let me, because I truly had a message that I wanted to share, but I so quickly got caught up in the idea of let me get this message in front of as many people as possible, rather than let me try to communicate this message as authentically as possible, so that one person can deeply resonate with it, and then hopefully one more, and then hopefully one more. So I can say that, not maybe from day one, but very, very quickly, I got caught up in just thinking about the numbers. How many people did I reach today? How many people did see my Instagram page or my website? I was lucky enough and blessed enough to even sell a couple of shirts, and to know that, the message that I wanted to spread reached. I remember, purchase from Ireland and California. That was for me insane, from a guy from Montenegro. Insane that someone in Ireland and California is wearing a t-shirt that I designed. Would be giving myself too much credit. Let's say I had an idea that, that was brought to fruition. It's not necessarily design, uh, but as I said, it was inauthentic in caring too much about metrics. And also, something that you touched on. You said some people claim that there is no such thing as authenticity. I think that's kind of escaping the responsibility of being honest with yourself. Because I believe, and I can say now, throw in some psychological reference. I uh, subscribe to a lot of beliefs that existential psychology holds, that humanistic psychology holds, and some of those beliefs are that we as human beings have great capacity for self-awareness. However, self-awareness and self-honesty require great dose of courage and taking on responsibility. Because if I am aware of my inner process, then I have the responsibility to act on it. So when a person says there is no authenticity, I would challenge them because what can be the motivation behind that claim? If there
Mhm.
is no authenticity, then I'm free from responsibility of being who I am. So it's kind of that is really convenient statement to say there is no authenticity. I can say that when I was trying to spread that message, I became inauthentic by falling for the temptation of feeling like I'm supposed to get this message across to millions of people. That is not authentic. If I'm truly authentically connected with that message, then my role is to communicate this message as truthfully as possible and let it be if only one person connects to me or connects to the message. So if this kind of answers your question, I pointed that the obsession with numbers was with my first project, which failed because at the end of it I got burnt out and couldn't handle it anymore and couldn't even stand what I was doing, even though it started as a truly passion project. And the point of authenticity, I don't agree that there is no such thing as authenticity because I think if we take on, if we take on the responsibility to act on what we see inside of us, we will notice that there is authenticity. There is something where you feel at the very least, there are things where you can sense on a psychological and even physical level that this is not true to me. That's what I think.
Why do some people chase numbers and money, even though they have a different inner calling, and even though they already have enough money, for example, to retire, or not
Mm.
retire, but to, live a comfortable life, why do some people still, let's just say I've seen a post of yours on Substack. It was back when we had our last call. I don't fortunately remember the post exactly, but I think it was about someone having this inner calling of actually wanting to write novels or actually going ahead and writing
Mm.
novels or books, but instead they're, I don't know, selling something else, right?
Yeah,
Chasing
yeah,
the numbers, the revenue, even though they already have enough, right? They already have $1 million business. I think you can kind of remember.
yeah. I can definitely clear
Yeah.
that up. Uh, and another great question. I will clarify the post that I made so that people listening can have an idea what we're talking about. So I was saying how mm, I was attending a course by a digital writer, extremely successful digital writer, who was giving advice on how to make your career, how to make your way as a digital writer, and pointing to the fact that, and I'm almost quoting him now, saying that he says my passion is classical literature. My dream is to write a great novel, but I saw that that's not the way for me to make the most amount of money. So I turned towards something I'm good at, where there is opportunity. So he was basically, and that is, that was part of the course. But I know he said it in many other interviews. The tactic of, okay, you can keep your passion, but keep it as a hobby, and which I understand fully, and opt for, when it comes to success and when it comes to career, decide for something that is not purely passion, but something where you can rationally recognize that I'm good at this, and this is a place where I can more easily, way more easily, make money. Which I completely understand the whole rational argument, but when a person who is sharing this advice has made millions and still didn't go back to original passion, then we have to question based on what are you making decisions in your life. Because I will be the first to say to someone who is struggling financially, to say, listen, I understand your artistic soul, but for now, you need to maintain this, but maintain it as a part of yourself that doesn't necessarily have to be your career. I will be the first one to say that to a person who is struggling financially. If you're struggling financially, don't try to get out of that struggle through art. Be a reasonable person who is devoting still the time that they can and the energy that they have to their art, but you have to find something more realistic to make money off of. But when you get to the point of having enough money, like this person has, and you are still pursuing more and more and more money, and deciding that a passion should always remain in the background, then we have to start talking about values. Then we have to start talking about value and what is the predominant value of the modern society. When you ask why people do this, now I'm hinting at society. I think, we collectively are to blame for the fact that people are mistaking calling, inner calling, they're mistaking it for success. Even the whole idea of the hero's journey. Let's take that for example. Uh, Not everyone hero's journey is to slay the dragon and then become the king. Maybe someone's hero journey, not maybe, but definitely, for a lot of people, their hero journey is to become a healer, maybe healer for their family and end generational self-destructive patterns. Maybe someone's hero journey is to become a great advisor to the metaphorical king. Maybe someone's hero journey is to become uh, a great storyteller, and so on and so forth. But we have somehow arrived at the point where everyone thinks that their hero journey is to become the king, which is the main character, the richest person, the most powerful person. So then when people are looking at their inner calling, I think they're expecting, because let's, just what is considered success today, it's something that can be measured. That's money. Or something that cannot be measured but can easily be perceived is social status and power. So because those are the things that are forefront of our minds through modern culture, then when people considering calling, they think, okay, I'm now trying to identify something that will bring me these things.
Mhm.
It's very difficult for people to accept that maybe someone's calling is to be remembered as that friend who who kept people from falling apart when they are going where they were going through personal tragedies. A few people consider that a calling, but it could very well be someone's life's calling.
Absolutely. And I believe Hollywood and media has played, I believe, a huge role in
Definitely.
only making the entrepreneur artist or athlete, you know, whether you're obviously an athlete in football or whatever. I think these are the glorified heroes of today. Uh, to me, for example, my grandma is the hero of my family. She is, I
Beautiful.
don't want to talk. It is your podcast here, but I believe you made a huge
No, no,
point, which is like everyone's hero journey is different. Sure, we hear that a lot. Um, but to be honest, I never heard this point in this kind of perspective. Like even a healer, even someone in your family that keeps the family together could be a hero. So it's a great point, man. So even eye-opening for me. I read a quote last night. It was actually an Instagram reel with a quote in it. It was from the poet Rumi, and he said, "When I run after what I think I want, my days are a furnace of distress and anxiety. If I sit in my own place of patience, what I need flows to me without pain." So I believe this also plays a role there, right? Which brings me to my next question. Money and numbers and KPIs, I think that's the lazy way and the easy way to chase goals. I think the more real productive way is sitting down and doing nothing and just letting yourself see, like just feel what is it? What is it that I'm trying to go towards, right? I think it's easy to say I want to make 10 grand a month, 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month. How do I build an online business? Because you can YouTube that and Google that and buy a course, right? It's laid out for you. But I think, and that's fine. I'm not saying that is the wrong path, right? As I like as you said, if monetary goals are genuinely something that will change your life, absolutely go towards that. I think
Yes.
everyone everyone could use a little bit more money to improve their life. Why not? I'm working for money still, absolutely no problem. But I think if people have reached a point where they're like, okay, this thing is working. I have just like this stress. I'm trying to do something that I enjoy, something, there's a calling for you. Instead of ignoring it or searching up tutorials maybe on how to do it, which could also be a part of achieving what you want. But I think sitting down and as Rumi said, it's a pretty old quote, but I can definitely relate to it. I don't know what you think about it.
I think it's timeless wisdom, and thank you for bringing it up because it's powerful, it's beautiful, which is no surprise from Rumi. But man, you touched on something. To be completely honest, I don't know when was the last time I thought of it in this way, and that's now why I have to say, you said it in the podcast is about me. No, no, I have to go back to my point from the beginning that I have as much to learn from you as you can or anyone else can from me. And this point of sitting with yourself, I think you have experienced it because I know from our previous conversations or from our previous conversation, you've achieved a success in life that a lot of people are still aiming towards and that most people don't reach. And I think you would know well about setting external goals that are kind of out there, which there is nothing wrong with it in itself, but never sitting down and allowing something to be presented to you, something that is maybe even more true to you, that is, I believe it's scary for a lot of people. It can be terrifying. Let's be honest, it can be terrifying to allow yourself to be presented with a path that you didn't expect, a path that is most likely going to be lonely versus, as you said, a path that it's respectable because it is difficult. So again, all the respect to people who are taking the path of, chasing numbers, uh, especially depending on how they use the things that they gain. Again, that can be noble. So not, I think we are on the same page of not necessarily criticizing people just for just based on their goals, but there is something more straightforward and less lonely about choosing a goal that is kind of out there and that is becoming more and more socially not just accepted, popular and encouraged versus as you said, sitting and doing nothing and waiting for something to come to you. So yeah.
Absolutely. It's just easier, right? It's easier to chase the popular option. It's attractive because you get the recognition, you get this, and that. So it makes a lot of sense, right? To choose the easy path. Um, Man, I think we're
Definitely.
so privileged to, it's Saturday morning. I'm in my home office just recording a podcast, speaking about topics and having the privilege to even have the time to think about these things.
Mm,
I think older generations of mine would have absolutely appreciated at least one of these days in their lives where they could, sit down and think about these things. Um, so we're definitely really privileged to think and to speak about these things. What I wanted to ask you is,
definitely.
do you live a happy life? Are you happy?
That's a good one. I would say I live a great life. Not I would say, I live a great life. I live a life meaningful in the sense that I am in a deep, meaningful relationship with the circumstances of my life. That's something I believe in. I believe That's what life is mostly about, being in deep, meaningful relationship with the circumstances of your life. And I can honestly say, you know, as they say, hand on my heart, I can honestly say that I am in deep, meaningful relationship with the circumstances of my life. And I am enthusiastic about life most of the days, which wasn't the case for the majority of my life. That's something new for me. But do I live a happy life? It's not tragic, but I wouldn't necessarily. That's it's not the first thing that comes to my mind. Happy isn't the first thing that comes to my mind at the moment. At this moment and today, I'm happy. I can honestly say, today, this moment, I'm happy. Having this conversation with you is a big part of me being happy today. But when it comes to my life, happy isn't the first or second or third thing that comes to mind. But that doesn't mean no one should interpret that as me complaining about it or not and liking it. On the contrary, I love my life.
Amazing.
Just that's the answer that I have.
And I purposefully asked the question that way, right?
Hmm.
It's not the easiest. It's not a. I think it's not a binary question. Am I happy? Yes or not? No. So I think happiness. My opinion is like there's certain moments of the day where I really feel happy and just like enthusiastic, like a little child, excited, which is a great sign, I believe. I also had plenty of phases in my life where I wasn't this way, so I know how to be grateful of these moments and of these days. Um, but I'm also aware that it's what do you call it? Fleeting. It doesn't last,
Yes,
right? So it's a moment which I believe God blesses us with, and I'm grateful for that. But if the moment passes and I do have a mission in life and I do have a purpose, and I'm still searching for some areas in my life how to find my purpose in those areas, man, this is life. I'm trying to figure this stuff out. It's meaningful to me, just going through life, seeing how I can improve, how to get better. And that's also going back to your point. You're happy, I think, in a way that you have a meaningful life, meaningful relationships. There's a meaning behind it, right? And I believe I mean, wasn't it always like that, right? I think one of the saddest experiences is when you don't have any meaning. Everything is great. Every day is sunny outside. Um, I saw an Instagram story of someone being a German guy. He's in Cape Town now in South Africa, doing like a workation for a month. He's out there working just because, winter time, Germany, it's pretty much gray almost all every day. So he just wanted, look, just want to go there and enjoy my month there, work from there, and enjoy the sun every morning. Yesterday, he posted a story that it was raining, and he heard people, South Africans, people living there, they were so happy it was raining, and they were so happy there's a little bit of cloud and it's gray, and finally a cool down here, right? So I think we can take example from there. If everything would be sunny, everything would be great. Do you even know what happy means? Do you even know
exactly.
what good is? So yeah, I think it's a matter of perspective, and you also put it that way. And these were my 2 cents to the whole topic as well.
Great example. It becomes the default state, and then if it's the default state, there is nothing exceptional about it.
Absolutely. I agree with that. So do you think that overthinking is ultimately, people say just stop overthinking, right?
Mm.
I find it funny. Just stop thinking, man. Stop thinking so much. Come on, let's do this, let's do that. Do you think overthinking in itself is a bad or a good thing?
Mm. This is the question, right? I would say this. We tend to call I said at the beginning of the conversation, I talked about this sensibility towards life, this tendency towards thinking deeply about things. Although I have to say that word deeply and deep is now thrown around so
Mm.
easily. So I know it doesn't necessarily hold the weight that it used to. But I'm hoping that people listening to this are we are all kind of on the same page. This tendency towards thinking deeply, I wouldn't say that all thinking resulting from it is overthinking. So I was talking to people, and one person was telling me, "Oh, I resonate with you. I'm also an overthinker." And then it was a male. He shared an experience of quote unquote overthinking an interaction with a potential partner, and it was, I think, the most natural line of thinking for a human who is seeking meaningful connection to go down. But when we start considering ourselves overthinkers, which maybe I'm wrong in with my presence and my pen name, maybe reaffirming someone's identity, which maybe isn't necessarily the most useful thing or helpful. We then identify all of our longer trains of thought as overthinking. So first, let's help ourselves by making some kind of separation and giving ourselves credit when we are just thinking profoundly about things in life that matter. Because if you are trying to have a meaningful relationship with someone and that person uh, steps over your boundaries, I'm not sure you are overthinking. If you spend an afternoon figuring out what happened, maybe you are a human being whose soul is still alive and isn't, extinguished by the modern age where it's just, okay, on to the next person, on to the next person. Maybe you care about meaningful relationships and are affected and have the capacity to think. So I know I'm making the answer a bit longer, but I want to, for me, one major point is to say for people who are overthinkers, not all of their thinking is overthinking. Then we have the overthinking, which I think is overthinking and is, if it's overthinking, then is negative or can be harmful, where we go down uh, rabbit holes of our mind that don't lead anywhere. So, to try to kind of set one overarching theme here, I would say that every overthinker, if you consider yourself an overthinker, I think a lot of the word think here, but that you should sit with yourself and recognize that all your creative capacity that you have, all of your intellectual capacity that you have probably recognized, all of the things that separate you from others and give you some sort of advantage in life cannot be separated from this tendency of thinking deeply. You just have to realize that it can be the greatest tool that you possess, but with the greatest tool, sometimes you can smash your head with it. Like they say with a hammer, you can build and you can also hit yourself in the head with it. So I would say that overthinking, if it's truly going going in circles without even potentially arriving anywhere, that's negative and that truly is overthinking. But I think that overthinkers or people with overthinking tendencies should give themselves more recognition and accept that sometimes it's a blessing that they spend more time and energy thinking about things. Because I will end with this. If you and I were not overthinkers, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But on the other hand, we have both experienced the negative side of it.
Absolutely. And it's somehow relieving to hear this from you, meaning, look, there's a purpose behind this overthinking. And if you can extract the good thing out of it, meaning if it moves you forward, if you have a certain conclusion out of it, then I think you're right. I think it does help that I spent plenty of time thinking and analyzing and seeing what's up, right? What it is that I'm thinking about. Although, as you said, if you're thinking too much and you're not moving forward, you're stuck in the same place, right? Trying to solve the same, let's say, math equation, the same problem, but not moving forward. I don't know if that is meaningful in a way to like in terms of like making progress, right? If you're just thinking
Exactly.
because you enjoy thinking, if you enjoy analyzing, then that's fine. Do that. But if you're trying to come to a certain result, to a certain conclusion, I believe, as you said, it's important to not get stuck in the same loop, but to come to a conclusion. So that makes a lot of sense. And to see it as a good thing, as a blessing as well, right? So that's
Exactly.
it's definitely a very valuable um, piece of information that I also took. You know, what's funny from podcasts, it's my first podcast I'm recording, but I feel like I'm learning so much just by exchanging conversations, right? Just by asking questions, because you have to pay attention, listen. So that's really
Yes.
great. Which
And
another
you're
thing
doing
that
a
I
great job. Sorry for
thank you.
interrupting, but man, like you are asking questions like you've been doing this for years.
Appreciate it, man. Well, I've been listening to podcasts for years, so that might be the reason. But what I also wanted to touch base on is discipline. You've
Mm.
spoken about discipline a few times. I think it's a very big part of your life, a big pillar in why you're here
Yeah.
in where you are in your life. Um, were you always this disciplined? Um, and yeah, that's the first question. I will add another
Mhm.
one later, but yeah.
Uh, Man, good way to put it, because when I started writing, I never anticipated myself talking about discipline, consistency, and consistency has become one of my trademarks simply because, I embarked on the journey of writing about mostly existential questions, philosophical questions, but uh, questions that matter in life rather than philosophical questions as intellectual exercise. I'm not really interested in philosophy as a broad field, which nowadays, if you go into any philosophy department on any university, they're not discussing matters, they're not discussing, yeah, questions that matter in real life. So naturally, by me writing and talking about, questions that do matter in real life, soon enough, I saw that people ask or comment about discipline and consistency as I have embodied them through writing every single day and sharing my workouts, sharing that I also work out every single day. Although I don't want to get in, in now the aspect of physically, no one needs to work out every single day. It's a psychological thing for me. So uh, I just wanted to point out because kind of I think it's part of your question that I never saw myself as the guy who would end up being uh, the one who talks about discipline and consistency, because for me it was okay, that is a base, a foundation. Now let's get to the things that matter, like authenticity. Now, what we're talking about, uh, how to position yourself in life. Discipline for me was was I always this disciplined? I would be lying. I would be lying now if I try to be relatable and say, yeah, I've struggled as much as everyone. This is a part of my life where I would say, uh, from early age, I've I've shown signs of capacity to be disciplined in a way that is unusual. So whether it was food or training, then later on writing. I mean, in school I wasn't disciplined by any means. Like I have to acknowledge that I wasn't a disciplined student, but I was a person who, if I was interested in something, then there is a question. If you
Hmm.
like something, is it really discipline? Well, every single thing that you like in life that you enjoy has activities related to it that are not enjoyable, and that's where discipline shows up. So for me, if I can try to summarize it, I'm not going to say that I always struggled and I kind of magically found some pill, but I would say that for me, discipline was just like consistency. It was the only thing in life that would guarantee that I can trust myself, I can rely on myself, and maybe for an insecure person like I was, a person who doesn't have, the most loving relationship with myself, discipline was a way to look myself in the mirror. And, if I'm not ecstatic about myself, if I'm not really, in love with myself like some people are, at the very least, I can respect myself. So I would say, to sum it up, discipline was something that I early on started developing because I think it is developed.
Hmm.
There are ways to develop it. It was a matter of being able to respect myself.
Absolutely. And I believe you know Naval, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So I think he mentioned a point. He said like discipline sucks. something like that,
Mm,
like a controversial take
mhm,
to catch the attention. Um, but he said when you're pretty much doing what you enjoy, you don't really need discipline. You just like, of course, it helps
mhm.
because you don't have, you're not allowed to miss a day or just to stay the course, right?
Yeah.
Um, since you were in air traffic before, what I'm thinking is, okay, well, you grew up as a more like disciplined person more than the average guy, let's just say, put it that way. You were in air traffic. Um, Transitioning to what you're doing now, writing and everything,
Mhm,
I think you didn't tell yourself, okay, I will be disciplined and start writing to get outcome, whatever outcome. But I think it was more like something you enjoyed and you started doing it, right? And then it just worked out. Or maybe I'm wrong, which is a question. A question to you. Did you need discipline at the beginning to start writing and be consistent with it in order for you to see, okay, am I
mhm,
getting results? Is this something I want to do? Or did you allow yourself to write whenever you felt like and you just went on like that?
mhm. Another great one, as I said,
Maybe,
so at the big.
sorry to interrupt, maybe
Mhm.
to add,
Oh,
the reason why I'm asking this question is because um, I think it's very hard to just say, okay, let's just say, I know how to make money with this thing, but I don't really enjoy it. I enjoy maybe 20, 30% of it. But if I stay disciplined on it the whole year, I will make a lot of money, right? This is option
mm,
A. And so
yeah.
you need a lot of discipline, grit, whatever. And you know you're going to get certain outcome. And then option B is, I don't know if this will work out. Um, I think option B, you need a little less discipline, I believe, right?
Okay, option B is something that we can sense that we like doing or enjoy. Mhm.
Hmm.
That's okay. I will put it like this. For me, I already knew that I enjoy or not even enjoy. I have to. I cannot help myself but think about these certain questions. So for me, when it comes to enjoyment, it was even more. I have to do this. I have to do this to get it out of my system. And I am a person for whatever reason. I'm not sure that on the spot I could give you the exact explanation, but I'm a person who likes to make these contracts with myself. So when it comes to how did I approach, did I write whenever I feel like it? No, I have to say that at the beginning I didn't write it physically, but I made a contract with myself to do this for at least a year every day without any expectation. So there was this element of commitment. And I think commitment is something that we as a society don't talk about enough. Commitment, true commitment towards a romantic partner, true commitment towards a profession, true commitments toward a goal, true commitments towards life in general. Uh, but the thing is, of course, there is the initial enthusiasm where it's easy to show up every day. With times, with time, it became challenging. So that's where discipline comes into play. But you phrased the question really well. Something along the lines, did you allow yourself the time to figure out if you like something? And this is what I think people don't realize, and maybe you share the same experience. People are waiting for their passion to show up on the first try of something. People are waiting for something that they will enjoy. But how about you try something and then commit to it for a certain amount of time? I'm not saying you have to do it for a year, but how about commit to it for 30 days, 60 days, 100 days to allow yourself and give yourself even a chance. I was talking to a lady from Sweden, Louise, who who had her first Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitions towards the end of last year, 2024. And I was just impressed that someone is, someone that's not her profession. It's not like she's been years. She just picked it up spontaneously, and over the course of a year, it developed into a true passion. When you talk with her, you know it. You know it when you talk with someone. and they speak about a certain thing, you know if it's just a hobby or it's a passion. For her, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is now a true passion. And I was speaking with her because I wanted to, I hoped that she would reaffirm my position, and I think you can confirm it and a lot of other people. You have to give yourself a chance for something to develop into a passion and then to be able to do it more easily. It's not as if it's going to happen on the first try or on the second or 15th day. So I don't know if this was a side
That's
tangent or not.
no,
I
that's
think it's
huge,
still
man. I think it's one of the most valuable takes from this podcast, to be honest. Because I'm not gonna lie, I've had plenty of tries on different, let's say, endeavors where I tried something for 2, 3 weeks, but and I just had this mindset of, okay, I'm just gonna try it out, see if it feels natural to me, see if I enjoy it or not, right? Which could work to find what it is that you enjoy. For example, to me, videography, video editing,
mm,
speaking in front of a camera. Um, I don't know if you knew, but I posted videos on YouTube 2014, 2015. They're all unlisted
mhm.
because I don't know. It's just like older fitness videos. I don't want them out. But I love this. I love speaking. So these things always felt natural, but I always yeah, I don't want to lie. I'm going to be transparent. I always missed this insight of, okay, I will commit, not for a year, but let's say 3 months, 6 months. Give it a real try for 6 months. Actually,
Yeah,
work it out. Try to work it out. And then after 6 months, if you feel like, okay, it's not for me, well, at least you know I have all these days that I put in and as proof that I actually tried, right? I actually tried. It wasn't like just half-ass try or whatever. I actually put in the work, but it's just not it. And be honest to yourself. But I think giving yourself this longer window, this commitment, you also have the opportunity to, in that struggle or not struggle, but in that commitment to find a spark of passion in it, which honestly I never looked at it this way, which is huge. I think a lot of people will learn from this
man.
intake.
Spark. You said it perfectly. It's spark that we are looking for here.
Mm.
I wrote it somewhere. Find the spark so that it later on can become this raging fire.
Yeah, that's
But it has
nice.
to, So you said it perfectly. And if I can add this, because I didn't mention it before when talking about my initial project, I said I had an Instagram page and I had a website where I was writing a blog related to the messages that I want to spread. And when the whole thing fell apart, that was a little over 1 year into this project. It fell apart, and I realized I cannot keep doing this. It's just taking a toll on me, uh, psychologically, emotionally, and it's not going anywhere. And the one thing that I picked up from it was analyzing the whole journey and realizing out of all of this, one thing that I truly enjoyed and one thing that felt real was the creative part of it, writing and especially writing those those blog posts. And I said, okay, but you know what's funny? At that point, it didn't seem like a major insight that after 1 year of something failing and taking a toll on you, and also, some financial investment that was wasted after 1 year collecting one insight, and that is I like creative part. And from the creative part, the only thing that I feel I'm maybe good at or can become good at is writing. At that point, I was like, okay, this is an insight. Let me take it with me. Then from there, I realized, okay, I should maybe write in journal, which I explained that I started writing in my
Mm.
journal before I started publishing online. And then you see now that's 5 years into writing online and 6 years, 6.5 years since that failure, that I'm here because of writing. So I know that for anyone out there, the time investment and energy investment that you put into something seems huge, and getting in return an insight about yourself rather than money or fame seems like a poor payoff, but you have no idea how that insight can influence your life later on. So for me, figuring out that I enjoy writing and having some hope that I can become good at it, although it didn't seem like a lot, I took it with me. So I'm encouraging everyone, do that from the commitment that you make. If it doesn't succeed, there is something there. There is something there, some feedback to collect. And just to say, uh, I will end with this. In your case, we are talking about commitment. Just imagine the amount of feedback that you get, inner feedback, not even feedback from the outside, but internal feedback that you get from 3 podcast episodes versus 30. The amount of internal feedback that you get, not even to talk about external. So that's why commitment is needed, I believe. The internal feedback keeps accumulating, and there is no way you don't collect something from the experience.
Absolutely. Huge, huge for real. Like, so honestly, and for me as well, I'm in a phase where I have something working out, right? It's nice, financially, it's amazing. So I'm really grateful for that. But I'm trying things out, right? So I also took today this insight that I need to give myself a bigger time window to try things out, commit and see, is it really the thing or is it not? What can I learn from it? So absolutely can take some really valuable advice from here as well. Um, David, to end things off in the next few minutes, um, just want to ask you for advice. It sounds, the thing is with you, you're not, in my opinion, you're not niched on one specific topic like
Mm,
fitness. So I can't ask you like, what advice can you give me in terms of fitness? And that's also what I find interesting about you. When I scroll on Instagram or when I watch your YouTube videos, honestly, man, sometimes just out of curiosity, out of entertainment, because I just like the topics you speak about, right?
mm,
Um, I just like watching them. So, what is it that, so maybe two questions. The first question is, what is the one thing that you are committing to the next 12 months to see, is it the thing that might stick,
mm.
or is it something that you want to do? This is the first question. And second question would be, to finalize things off, is what what advice would you like genuinely give people that, are in the same phase? Maybe they're in their early 20s, whatever, 18, 19, mid 20s, trying to figure out what it is that they want to do. And I know it's a huge
Mm.
question to ask for, but still just want to hear your 2 cents on it.
Thank you for the questions, brother. Let me first address what am I committing to, and thank you for phrasing it that way because commitment is something again isn't talked about enough. And today, this morning, literally before we jumped on the call, I'm a couple of hours ahead of you, but before we jumped on the call, I was writing about commitment. One thing that I'm committing to, or if let me try to put it like this, I'm committing to 2 things actually. One thing is becoming better at human relationships, as unglamorous as it may sound, uh, considering the fact that I'm, this guy who writes online and has the audience, like what is the next goal, releasing a book or whatever. One commitment that I have to make is to show up every day and to renew that commitment every single day, uh, to show up better in my interpersonal relationships. Again, maybe not interesting for everyone here, but I have to be honest and say that because it's important to me. A second one is I set a theme for 2025 for me, and that is skill. And I'm hoping that you and I catch up many times over this year and uh, discuss skill because you already have a beautiful skill of speaking eloquently, and I'm looking forward to seeing it develop. For me, is going to be developing. So I set a theme of 2025 to be skills because 2024 for me was a lot about connection, and it's a theme that I want to carry over to this year and to provide spotlight to other people, to connect with other people, to to share the platform that I have built not for myself, but for all of us together. So all of those things I'm carrying into 2025. But this year is also a commitment towards skill, because I'm going to be honest, when you get certain amount of quote unquote success online and certain reach and traction, it's easy to become complacent and think that ideas are the thing that matters. Ideas are great, but you need effort consistency and skill to execute those ideas. You need effort and consistency to execute ideas, and you need skill to execute them well. So I'm confident in my ability to put in the effort. I'm confident in my consistency. I want to keep advancing my skills in writing, in speaking, uh, in being more organized so that I can become more efficient at writing and at producing educational material for people. So I know it's kind of a long answer, but I'm committing to being more skilled writer, storyteller, hopefully educator. That's
Amazing.
part one.
Amazing.
Part two, what I would say to people who are in that stage in life, the stage in life, that's meant for exploration and wondering. I'm going to be honest and say in advance that my advice, which maybe people who know me are used to the fact that it's not the most step-by-step advice. So I believe there are people out there who can provide that kind of value. I'm not the guy who can give you the blueprint of learn AI automation and build an agency and reach out to this amount of people or do this. What I would say is that human being is a choosing creature. Like a puppy develops into a dog on instinct. We know that for sure. That puppy isn't making a conscious decision to become a dog. Kitten is developing into a cat on instinct. A seed develops into a full grown plant, into an oak based on nature and instinct. Human being is the choosing, deciding creature or being. We are the only ones who create ourselves and develop ourselves purely through decision and commitment. So you cannot, at confusing stage or confusing stages of your life, you cannot count on life throwing you in the right direction. You cannot count on nature doing the thing for you. Yes, you can believe in certain philosophies who have this beautiful idea that universe is supporting you. I'm not now denying anyone from believing in that, but you are the one who needs to decide the direction and to create the momentum of your life, of your existence. So this sounds maybe overwhelming, but choosing and deciding doesn't mean getting it right, because you and I are now speaking about feedback. So the only way that you get feedback is by choosing, by deciding and moving into a certain direction and getting feedback. So what I would say to everyone, we are living in confusing times, in rapidly changing times. At the same time, we are living in an age of greatest opportunities in the history of humanity, but also the biggest and most rapid change, which is making everything so unpredictable. No one is expecting you to get it right. People who are expecting you to get it right are not necessarily ill intentioned, but they are not observing the reality of your situation uh, in the right way. So there is no pressure for you to make every single decision the right one, but there is the absolute necessity of making decisions. So if I can, sum it up, I will say to everyone, especially young people at those at those uh, intersection of their life, I would say choose, decide, because that is the only way that you create yourself, and be optimistic and enthusiastic about the fact that choosing and deciding doesn't put the pressure on you to choose and decide right every single time, just to engage in the project of creating your life.
Thank you very much, David. Absolutely valuable also, just like not believing in the fact that life will blow a wind and make you land where you want to land just because, I don't know, the universe loves you so much. I think that's a reality everyone needs to face at some point. The earlier, in my opinion, the better. Well, the earlier, not like 12, but like hopefully like 16, 17, 18. So I absolutely believe that you should make decisions, commit to them for a good time frame where you have enough feedback points so you can, see is it what I want to do, is it not what I want to do, and then figure it out, man. Like I don't think who has life figured out really, right? Very few people, I watch these interviews with like older people, 60, 70-year-old people. Valuable insights in there, man, like on YouTube. People that speak about their regrets, what they miss, what they should have done, what they shouldn't have done. So yeah, man, David, thank you so so much for the time.
Thank you, brother.
Hopefully
Can I
we can hop on
can I
a
jump in
maybe.
with one more thing?
Absolutely, please.
Because we are on the topic also of life, and you now mentioning older people, I just have to couldn't resist saying this. I have to mention your grandma that you said yourself as the hero of your family. For people searching for a meaningful and fulfilling life, which is not a promise of an externally successful life. This is the meaningful and fulfilling life because when people ask, what's the point? We will all be forgotten and things of that sort, those nihilistic thoughts that I understand. But here is the counter argument. Your grandma that I haven't met and most likely will never meet in my life has directly impacted me through this conversation. What more can we hope in life for than impacting other people? I'm saying directly because we are mentioning her, but how many people do we touch indirectly without ever meeting each other? And if you're searching for a meaningful life, just the fact that you leave a positive impact on your closest ones, as your grandma did on you, and then your closest ones carrying your legacy. At that point, I stopped caring about whether our sun is going to, or not whether, scientists say our sun is going to burn out, turn off, whatever, and everything is going to fall apart. When I am impacted by another human being, in this case being your grandma, I stop caring about, not stop caring, but I'm not anymore stressed about what's going to happen in 100 years.
Absolutely.
I understand there are a lot of concerns, but when it comes to meaningful and fulfilling life, it's in front of every single one of us with these examples. So shout out to grandma.
Thank you very much. Which also reinforces, that's a positive feedback again. I think I will keep this podcast thing going. Maybe I'll record
Please
a
do, brother.
session with her. She doesn't speak English, but there's enough AI tools that can translate it.
Yeah.
So
I would read the translation at the very least.
awesome, man. Hey, I think I will actually do it pretty soon. So thanks a lot, David. Appreciate it. Hopefully we can hop on a maybe second session. I don't know, sometime this year,
I
end
would
of the
love it.
year. See how
You can
things
count on
have been
that.
going. And thank you very much. By the way,
You can always count on that, brother.
yes, everyone that needs to or wants to read more about David, Recovering Overthinker. I think it's pretty easy to
That's
Google.
it.
He's
Yeah,
got Substack, Instagram. You'll if you want to find him, you will find him. I don't think it's
that's
hard
it.
to miss.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you, brother.